We are told that structure creates freedom. We are told that if we build a fortress of habits, we will be safe inside it. We believe that if we can just get the inputs right, if we can calibrate the sleep, the diet, the workflow, the emotional regulation, then the output will be a life that is immune to chaos. But discipline, when taken to its clinical extreme, offers a very specific kind of devil's bargain. It promises certainty. What it quietly delivers is the certainty that you will never be certain enough. It replaces the anxiety of the unknown with the anxiety of the measurement. You stop living the day and start auditing it. Julian is 36 years old. He stands in the center of a kitchen that looks less like a place where food is cooked and more like a laboratory where nutrition is administered. It is 4:15 in the morning. The city outside is a dark, sprawling organism that is still asleep, messy and unoptimized. Inside, everything is sharp edges and brushed steel. He is already awake before the alarm. He is always awake before the alarm. The device on his wrist, a sleek band of black silicone, vibrates to let him know that his recovery score is 82%. This is acceptable. Not optimal, but acceptable. He feels a phantom distinctness in his chest, a tightness that might be loneliness or might be acid reflux, but the data says he is recovered, so he accepts the data over the sensation. Julian is a venture partner. His career is built on the ability to predict outcomes, to look at a chaotic startup and see the linear projection of revenue. He has applied this same methodology to his own existence. He is a marathoner, not because he loves to run, but because running provides clear metrics, pace per mile, VO2 max, cadence. He practices intermittent fasting, not out of spiritual hunger, but for autophagic efficiency. He stands by the espresso machine. The grinder whirs for exactly 6 seconds. He weighs the grounds. 18 grams. He does not smell the coffee. He checks his calendar while the water heats. His day is a series of blocks, color-coded by priority. There is no white space. White space is where the mind wanders, and a wandering mind is an inefficiency. He opens the meditation app on his phone. This is the cornerstone of his mental hygiene. The screen glows with a soft, gradient blue. A number sits in the center of the circle, 400. 400 consecutive days of mindfulness. He sits on the cushion in the corner of the living room, a space designated specifically for stillness. He closes his eyes. The guide's voice is soft, synthesized, and perfectly calm. Julian breathes in for 4 counts. He holds for 4 counts. He exhales for 4 counts. He is not watching his breath. He is managing it. He is waiting for the chime. He is performing relaxation with the intensity of a bomb disposal technician. When the chime sounds, a rush of dopamine hits him, not the peace of the practice, but the satisfaction of the streak. The number flips to 401. The algorithm congratulates him. A gentle animation of a blooming lotus flower fills the screen. He feels a brief, narcotic sense of safety. He has done the thing. He is safe for another 24 hours. But the cracks are there. They are hairline fractures in the porcelain of his routine, visible only when the light hits them at a certain angle. They appear in the elevator at work. A colleague, Sarah, steps in. She is holding a helmet. She biked to work. Her hair is slightly frizzy from the humidity. She smells like rain and sweat and coffee that came from a bodega cup, not a scale. She looks tired, but her eyes are bright. Big weekend coming up, she says, leaning against the mirrored wall. 3 days. I'm going to drive up the coast. No plan. Just going to see where the road goes. Julian looks at her. He feels a sudden, sharp spike of irritation. Where will you stay? He asks. I don't know, she laughs. I'll figure it out. Julian forces a smile. He cannot comprehend the sentence. To leave without a reservation is to invite disaster. To drive without a destination is a waste of fuel and time. But as she walks out of the elevator, humming, he catches his own reflection in the closing doors. He looks impeccable. He looks preserved. And he feels a sudden, terrifying envy that has no metric. The cracks widen at home. It is his weekend with his daughter, Maya. She is 7. She sits on the floor of his living room, surrounded by colored pencils. She is drawing a horse. But the horse is purple and has 6 legs. Julian sits on the sofa, answering emails on his tablet. He looks down at her, Horses don't have 6 legs, Maya. She looks up, her face smeared with a smudge of graphite. She laughs. It is a belly laugh, a sound that erupts from her without permission or modulation. I know, Daddy. That's why it's funny. He looks at her, trying to understand the joke. He analyzes the anatomy of the drawing. He processes the absurdity. He attempts to formulate a laugh to join her, to bond, to optimize the father-daughter moment. But by the time he produces the chuckle, the moment is gone. She has moved on to drawing a sun with sunglasses. He is left with the silence of his own delayed reaction. He realizes he can no longer remember the last time he laughed simply because something was funny, rather than because it was socially appropriate to do so. He remembers the last time he cried. It was 3 years ago. He had watched a documentary about the ocean. A whale had been separated from its pod. He had felt a tear track down his cheek. Immediately, reflexively, his mind had engaged. Why am I crying? Is this hormonal? Am I sleep deprived? What is the evolutionary purpose of this empathy toward a marine mammal? He had dissected the emotion until it dissolved, leaving him dry-eyed and hollow. The pressure builds not through catastrophe, but through accumulation. It is the weight of holding up the sky every single day. It is the exhaustion of being the pilot, the navigator, and the mechanic of his own life, never the passenger. The quarterly review is scheduled for a Tuesday afternoon. Julian prepares for it like a trial. His slide deck is a masterpiece of minimalism and data. He walks into the conference room ready to defend his existence with profit margins. The man sitting at the head of the table is Elias. Elias is 64. He is semi-retired, a founding partner who comes in only when he feels like it. He wears a tweed jacket that has seen better decades, and he smells faintly of pipe tobacco and old books. He does not have a fitness tracker. He does not have a calendar on his phone. He carries a small, leather-bound pocket notebook. Julian presents. He speaks of growth vectors, of minimizing churn, of optimization strategies. He is fluent, articulate, and impressive. He finishes and waits for the applause, or at least the approving nod. Elias sits in silence for a long time. He looks at the screen. Then he takes off his glasses and rubs the bridge of his nose. He looks at Julian. His eyes are not cold, but they are uncomfortably direct. You're on track to make partner next year, Elias says. That is the goal, Julian replies, his posture perfect. You've hit every KPI we've ever set for you. You are the most disciplined man I have ever met. Thank you, Elias. Elias leans back. The leather chair creaks. Julian, tell me something. When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because it was healthy, or productive, or profitable, or impressive. Just because you wanted to. Julian blinks. The question does not compute. He searches his mental database. He thinks of the marathon. I ran the Boston. You ran it to beat your time. Elias interrupts gently. That's work. I read 20 books last year. Non-fiction. Strategy. Biography. That's study. That's work. Julian feels a flush of heat rise up his neck. I meditate every day. To lower your cortisol so you can work harder, Elias says. He sighs, a sound that carries a heavy, paternal sadness. I look at you, Julian, and I see a machine that is running perfectly. But I don't see a man. I am building a foundation, Julian defends, his voice tighter than he intends. Discipline is freedom. Elias smiles, and it is a sad, tired smile. No, son. Discipline is a tool. When it becomes the master, it's a jailer. Those habits of yours? The streak, the data? Those aren't wants. Those are sentences. You are serving time in a prison you built yourself. The meeting ends. There is no performance review. Elias just waves a hand and tells him to go home early. Julian walks back to his office. The walls are glass. He can see the entire floor. The hive of activity. He shuts the door and sits at his desk. The ergonomic chair adjusts perfectly to his lumbar spine. He stares at his computer monitor. But the screen is dark. He sees himself. He sees the face of a man who is 36 but looks preserved in amber. He sees the tightness around the eyes. He sees the expression he has worn for a decade. The face of someone who is winning. He realizes that he has been holding this expression like a plank position, waiting for a teacher to tell him he can relax. waiting to be told that it counts. He looks at the reflection and tries to find the person inside it. He tries to find the part of him that likes things. Does he like jazz? He listens to it because studies show it enhances cognitive flow. Does he like the taste of kale? He eats it because of the micronutrient profile. Does he love his work? He does it because he is good at it, and being good at things is the only way he knows how to justify his space on the earth. He feels a sudden, vertigo-inducing emptiness. It is not a depression. It is something vaster. It is the realization that if he stopped running, he has no idea who would be standing still. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out his phone. The screen lights up for 4:45 p.m. He has a block scheduled for strategic thinking. He opens the meditation app. The interface is soothing, familiar. The streak counter sits there, glowing, for 101 days. If he meditates now, he keeps the streak. If he closes his eyes and breathes for 10 minutes, he gets the chime. He gets the badge. He gets the proof that he is still in control. His thumb hovers over the start button. He remembers Sarah in the elevator. I'll figure it out. He remembers Elias. Those are sentences. He looks at the number. 401. What is it counting? Is it counting days of peace? Or is it counting days of fear? Is it a measure of his mental health? Or a measure of his compulsion? He realizes that the streak has become more important than the meditation. The map has replaced the territory. He is not meditating to find clarity. He is meditating to feed the number. Julian sits there for a long time. The office lights dim automatically as the sensors detect the lowering sun. The blue light of the phone illuminates his face. He does not press start. He closes the app. He sits in the silence. He waits for the anxiety to crush him. He waits for the sky to fall because he has broken the ritual. The number remains in the cloud, frozen at 401. But the chain is broken. Nothing happens. The building does not shake. The police do not kick down the door. The only thing that happens is that he takes a breath. It is a ragged, shallow breath. It is not for counts in, for counts out. It is just a breath. He leaves the office. He does not take the subway. He walks. He does not track the steps. He feels the urge to look at his wrist, to check his heart rate, but he shoves his hands into his pockets. He walks into a bookstore. He does not go to the business section. He wanders into the fiction aisle. He picks up a book with a chaotic, colorful cover. He doesn't know the author. He reads the first page. He doesn't understand the metaphor immediately. He buys it. The transformation is not a montage. There is no sudden burst of technicolor joy. It is slow, grinding, and uncomfortable. For the next 3 months, Julian feels like he is walking without skin. Without the armor of his extreme regimentation, he feels exposed to the world. He sleeps poorly because he stopped obsessively temperature controlling his bedroom. He gains 3 pounds because he eats pasta with his daughter on a Tuesday. The extra weight feels like a failure, and he has to fight the urge to fast for 48 hours to correct it. He misses the chime. He misses the validation of the apps telling him he is a top performer. He feels average. He feels mortal. It is terrifying. One Saturday, he goes to the park. He leaves the watch at home. The phantom weight on his wrist is distracting. He feels naked. He sits on a bench. He watches a dog chase a frisbee. The dog misses the frisbee, tumbles over its own paws, and rolls in the grass, tongue lolling out, purely, idiotically happy. Julian watches the dog. He doesn't calculate the trajectory of the frisbee. He doesn't judge the dog's agility. He sits there for an hour. The sun moves across the sky. He gets thirsty. He gets a little bored. And then, a small thing happens. A very small thing. A gust of wind blows through the trees. It shakes the leaves, a shimmering, chaotic noise like 1,000 paper hands clapping. The light filters through the canopy and dapples the ground in a pattern that is random and mathematically complex and utterly useless. Julian looks at the light on the pavement. He feels a loosening in his chest. It is the sensation of a knot untying itself. He realizes he is just a man sitting on a bench. He is not an optimization problem to be solved. He is not a project to be managed. He is just a biological entity witnessing a moment of light. He takes a breath. He doesn't count it. He smiles. It is a small, crooked smile. It doesn't look like a winner's smile. It looks like a person who has just put down a very heavy suitcase that they didn't realize they were carrying. The certainty is gone. He doesn't know if he will make partner. He doesn't know if he will live to be 90. He doesn't know if he is optimizing his potential. But as he walks home, stopping to buy an ice cream cone that is full of sugar and dairy and inefficiency, he tastes the vanilla. He really tastes it. It is cold and sweet and melts too fast. It is a mess. We spend so much of our lives building cages out of gold and calling them palaces. We measure the bars and polish the lock and tell ourselves that we are the kings of this small, confined kingdom. We confuse the ability to control our immediate environment with the ability to live. But the world is not an input. You are not an output. There is a difference between a rhythm and a rut. One propels you forward, the other just wears a deeper groove in the mud. To step out of the groove is to risk stumbling. It is to risk looking foolish. It is to risk the terror of unstructured time. But it is also the only way to feel the texture of the ground beneath your feet. You can count every breath you take, or you can have a moment where the beauty of the world knocks the wind out of you. You cannot do both. The streak doesn't matter. The data doesn't love you. Step away from the mirror. Put down the measurement. Just breathe. Not because it lowers your blood pressure, but because you are alive, and the air is sweet, and you are here.